Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of our success stories. Today, I have a very special guest with me. Radhika has a very interesting background. Just for some context, she started a career in the media industry, but then she sort of went on to the fintech space, and now she is set to join the Cornell Johnson program for the fall semester. So, with that in mind, Radhika, why don't you just maybe give a brief background about yourself?
Sure, I have enough. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me here.
Yeah.
So just to as you mentioned, just to give you a brief about what's my journey been like. I come from Surat, Gujarat originally, and I pursued my bachelor's in business administration from NMIMS Mumbai. Now, post that, I've tried a few things in media, in business, but eventually, since the past 4 years, I've been working at Rase Financial Services, especially the past two as a product manager, which just is the perfect fit for me right now. So as a product manager, I was working for a stock market investment app, building investment products for over 1 million users. And I really loved building products from scratch and, growing it at a scale, um, which is something that I want to continue doing even in the future. And now with the program that I'll be pursuing at Cornell, which is their tech MBA, I hope to, excel into a leader who then eventually builds products at scale. So I'm pretty excited to be joining Cornell Tech's program this 2026.
That yeah, that's helpful to know. So I think you had a very interesting career, right? You sort of worked with one of the leading fintech firms, probably in the capital market space, and had a pretty fruitful career. And from whatever we are told about the fintech space, it's a pretty up and coming space within the Indian ecosystem and within the Indian venture capital, or even within the Indian fintech ecosystem, right? So why sort of leave that and go and pursue an MBA specifically, at within the US?
Right. Honestly, it was very hard. Like you rightly mentioned, the fintech space is the space to be in, especially
Yeah.
in India right now. And even when I was working, it was a great experience because I was learning every single day, and the growth and the learning was exponential. Plus, the kind of environment I was at, it was more like a startup, so things were moving very, very fast. But for me, one thing I realized was that eventually I just wanted to kind of be in a space where, I had more global exposure, and I wanted to be at the center for technology and innovation. So, right where things begin and then
Mhm.
probably come to India. So, I
Yeah.
feel that the US ecosystem just perfectly fits in that aspect, and that was one of the reasons that I wanted to kind of pursue an MBA there. Secondly, I just felt that MBA, apart from the academics, is also about the kind of network one builds. So, going to pursue an MBA helps you connect with people from different backgrounds, different fields, and it just gives you a lot more insight into various things that people are doing today. So I wanted that exposure at a global level, and which is the reason that I chose to do an MBA despite of the growing and the learning environment that I was at already.
Got it. And so, how did you plan your application journey, right? Because I think it's a very sort of long application process. It involves a lot of steps. So, how did you go about, thinking about the application journey?
Yeah, so initially, it was very overwhelming. Like you mentioned,
Yeah.
there's a lot of steps that goes into applying to a university, right from shortlisting the university to like finding the recommendations, writing the essays, and so on. So I wanted it to be a little bit more structured, and which
Yeah.
is when I actually came across you, Abhinav, and the
Yeah.
MBA Edge. So, you did really help bring the structure into the all the chaos that was happening around, and I think that just helped me in finding answers to exactly why I want to do an MBA, what kind of university do I want to go to, is the course the right fit for me? So all of those important and critical questions, and not just like uh, just polishing the essays. Of course, that was
Yeah.
one part of it, but like there's a lot more that goes into an application. So I think you especially try to kind of understand my journey better,
Yeah.
like made it very personalized. So all of these smaller things, but like very important things really help. So going about an application was something like being in chaos, utter chaos, to like having a bit more structure with you, and getting the right guidance, and then finally applying in. So that was the entire journey that I went through.
Why don't you talk a little bit about the interview process? I think that was one exciting phase, right? When in your entire
Yeah.
journey. Yeah.
Yeah, no, yes. The interviews are pretty exciting, and they're not like the typical ones that we usually have here in India. So more around the fact about who I am as a person,
Yeah.
and just like general conversations around what are my opinions about a few things in life, at work, the kind of things I've done to help people upskill and get better. So it was an experience where, of course, there were a few technical questions here and there, but more about them getting to know me as a person, just like a very friendly chat, for them to just analyze and judge whether I would be the right fit for them, and whether they and the university would be the right fit for me. So it was like a very two-way
Yeah.
understanding session that I had in terms of the interviews, which we
Mhm.
typically call it. So pretty interesting like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, this wasn't a stress interview at all, right? Just plain casual conversation just to get knowing you.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Radhika, which colleges did you apply to? What was the final outcome like? If you can just briefly talk about that.
Sure. So I did apply to like 5 to 6 colleges, but eventually I got into USC Marshall, UNC Keenan Flagler, and Cornell. And I chose Cornell, and I'm pretty excited to go and pursue my tech MBA there. So yeah, like the
Yeah.
reason made like why I went ahead with Cornell was because it majorly aligned with my future goals that I have, and the kind of network, the kind of access that Cornell has, being in New York City, is like it just fits in perfectly. So, yep, that's about it.
Got it. No, I think those other two programs are also very strong. All in the top 15, top 20, sort of the bracket, all top tier programs. So I think it's, I mean, it's an interesting thought process, linking your future outcomes to, the kind of program you want to go to. And I think that will sort of increasingly matter a lot more rather than just, going according to the rankings and so what, and that entire
Right.
sort of an approach, right?
Because like right, because especially with Cornell, like I was very clear in my head that I want to be in the product and tech
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
And the kind of course that Cornell has to offer with their tech MBA, it is very, very focused and very intentional in the product and tech space. So
Yeah.
it covers the MBA program, like core courses in like 3 to 4 months, but the rest of it is just about the tech and the product, and like building digital products, and like building a network right there. So
Yeah.
that just fits in perfectly with what I want to do in the future. So yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much aligned
Yeah.
with my goals.
So Radhika, looking back at this entire journey of almost 6 to 8 months, 8 months almost, right? What are the three things
Yeah.
that you'd probably advise any particular applicant who's sort of contemplating to go for his MBA, whether it should be in India or abroad? What is the things? How should he or she sort of go about evaluating the entire plan and whether it really makes sense for him or her?
Right. Okay. So I think the first and foremost is that they should really know why they want to do an MBA.
Yeah,
If they have strong enough reasons to, pursue a higher education or an MBA, then I think that makes sense, because that kind of forms the base of whatever you want to do then. Like wherever you want to apply, and even in like the interviews, this is one of their main focus areas. They just want to know, why do you want to do an MBA? Like, what
Yeah.
is the goal behind, what are the reasons? So that has to be like very, very solid. That reason within themselves needs to be very solid. Second is that people, like students, should now really research the courses and the universities they want to apply to. Um, because not like they should, like you also mentioned earlier, that one should not just go basis the rankings, just basis the rankings, but more about whether the kind of course that the university has to offer aligns with their future goals or not. Because
Yeah.
if there's a job that they want to do after, then have the alums actually being placed in companies which offer that kind of roles or not.
Yeah.
So speaking to alumni, speaking to the current students, really, really researching about the kind of course that the university offers, and if that aligns with their goals, has to be like the second piece to it. And third is that they should have sufficient time to prepare for all of this and
Yeah.
not like rush into it.
Yeah.
I think when I came to you, I was late. I was a
Yeah.
little late, but I feel that, which is why I can, like, really, really understand that one needs to have enough time to actually sit, like, reflect on their journey, so that they can also put everything on paper for their applications to be like a spot on, solid ones. So yeah, I think these three things is what I'd
Yeah.
suggest to any
No, absolutely.
student.
All of them make sense. And, I think just looking back at your journey, I think it was a wild roller coaster ride, right? Almost 8 months of constant effort, putting in
Yeah.
multiple iterations, and takes a lot of effort and a lot out of you. So I think, congratulations finally, I mean, you made it to probably the top program that you sort of wanted to get at. And obviously the product, obviously Cornell is one of the best places to be in terms of, if you want to launch a career within the product management space. So Radhika, wish you all the best with the program and hope to keep in touch.
Yes, thank you so much, Abhinav. Thanks for all the efforts that you put in.
Yeah.
Really helps. I mean, see that the results coming out. Thank you so much.
Yeah.